Hey guys, hope you're all doing well. Long time I haven't made any tutorials or courses. That's because I've been very busy lately at work. But here we go again with a new crash course for OpenpyXL. Before we get started, just don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the like and share this video. Science has proven that sharing is caring. Alright, without further ado, let's get started. You all must have worked with Excel at some time in your life and must have felt the need for automating some repetitive or tedious task. Don't worry, in this course we're going to learn about how to work with Excel using Python, or automating Excel using Python. We will be covering this with the help of the OpenpyXL module. OpenpyXL is a Python library that provides various methods to interact with Excel files using Python. It allows operations like reading, writing, arithmetic operations, plotting graphs, and many other Excel operations. This is the pypy.org website, and here is the OpenpyXL module page. You get a little bit introduction here about the security, and if you want to read the documentation, you can go here and read everything about OpenpyXL. This module naturally doesn't come built in with Python. It's actually a third-party library. So to install the module globally on your system, you can go ahead and type pip install OpenpyXL. However, what I recommend is creating a virtual environment always. Whenever you want to create a project, create a virtual environment. That way, all of your dependencies and libraries will be isolated from your global system, will be only in that folder or only in that project. So what I do is I activate the pipenv using pipenv shell, all right? But if you don't have that, you can install it via pip install pipenv. And once you do this, you can activate the pipenv using pipenv shell as I showed you. And then you can go ahead and say pipenv install OpenpyXL. All right. So this is the way to install OpenpyXL. Of course, if you prefer to install it globally, you can say pip install OpenpyXL. Or if you are a Mac or Linux user, you can say pip3 install OpenpyXL. All right, so let's go ahead directly and start our project. So know just where we are. All right, let me just go to the desktop and let's create a folder. I will call it OpenpyXL course. Okay, and let's open that with Visual Studio Code. So let me actually open the integrated terminal. And let's go ahead and activate our virtual environment, pipenv shell. Okay, good. Now let me install OpenpyXL module using pipenv install OpenpyXL command. Okay, perfect. Let me just close this. And the first thing that I want to show you is how to read from a spreadsheet. So to do that, let's go ahead and create an Excel file, a workbook, Excel, Microsoft Excel worksheet. Okay, and we'll call it net sales. Let's open that. And here I will have name, employee number, maybe sales volume by 1,000 pieces, and sales value in dollar. Okay, just adjust this. All right, and let's have some random names: Mina, Ahmed, Dina, Nancy, and Joel. All right, you can do anything you want. Really, you don't have to stick to that. Pieces 200, 150, 400, 234, 549. Sales value 1000. All right. That's all right. Okay, so we have our net sales table here for our sales reps with the volume and sales value in dollar. All right, just like that. So we're going to work on that file. We're going to read values from that Excel worksheet. Okay, we have sheet 1 in that workbook. Let's get back to our code and let me have here a file. I will call it netsales.py, and here we'll have our code. So the first thing you want to do, as you might have guessed correctly, is to import the OpenpyXL module. So we're going to import OpenpyXL. This is the first thing that naturally you will need to do, right? Because it has all the characteristics, the attributes and methods that we will need in our application or our program. The next thing that I want to do is to give the location of the file, or to give the path of the file. So I'm going to create a variable called path, and the name of the Excel file, we said net sales. Oh, we didn't actually. Let me just put it here inside. Okay. So the path of that Excel file will be net sales.xlsx. Okay, so this is the path of the file. So to open the workbook, we will need to read the Excel file that you have to open the spreadsheet. We have a method to do that called load workload. Okay, so let me actually create another variable. I will call it wb_obj or workbook object. And this is equal to the OpenpyXL library or module .load_workbook. And you can see immediately the suggestion to use that method. And we will pass inside our path. This is the active sheet, right? So in order to use the active sheet, there is an attribute called active. Okay, so I will use, or I will create sheet_obj, which is worksheet object. And this is actually going to take the workbook object, workbook obj dot active. Now I have selected this activated worksheet. Okay, this line is telling me, hey, Python, I want to choose that activated worksheet in that workbook object, which is this one. Next, what I want to do is actually to choose this cell, A1. And this is actually takes two parameters, the column and the row, or the row and the column, respectively. So row 1, column 1, which is A1. Okay, so I want to choose cell A1. To do that in Python is very, very easy. So let's create a third variable called cell_obj. And this is equal to sheet obj dot a method called cell or obj. Why I missed just the J. So the cell obj is actually the cell inside that activated worksheet. Okay, so the method what we're going to use is called cell, and it takes two parameters or two inputs, right? The row and the column. Row is equal to 1 because we want row 1, column 1, which is cell A1 as we said, and also column equal to 1. And if we're going to print that cell obj dot value, let's actually delete this one. Python net sales dot py, we will get name, which is exactly the value of cell A1. And as you can imagine, if you repeat the same thing while changing, the row will be the same if I want to just print employee, sales volume, and sales value. Row will be always 1, but column will change 2, 3, and 4. So let's change that 2, 3, and 4. Save. Let's execute that one more time, and let's repeat that 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Save. Execute again, and there we go. We have name, employee number, sales volume, and sales value. All right. So this is how to read from a single cell in a worksheet. All right, now we have seen how to read from single cell in a worksheet. Let's go ahead and read from multiple cells. Let's get back to our Excel file. And here, if I want to read from multiple cells, like A1, B1, C1, for example, we can use the values inside the for loop to get the value of the desired row or column, or any cell depending upon the situation, of course. And to do that, we can get the count of the total rows and the total columns, respectively. So we can use these values actually inside a for loop to iterate in that range in order to get the value of the desired row or column, or whatever cell you want to get the value of. All right, so let's go ahead and see how to get the value of the first column and the first row, for example. Okay, so I've added just this doc string here and this one here. So reading from single cell, reading from multiple cells. And don't worry, if you're watching this over your phone or your tablet and you're not coding along with me, don't worry, I will leave the link to GitHub for the code or the source code so you can use it later as a reference. All right. So first of all, let's actually get the value of maximum rows and columns. So here simply I'm going to declare a variable called row, and I will take not show sheet obj, and I'm going to access that property called max underscore row. The same thing goes for column, and instead of max row we have max column. And if you want to print the total rows and columns, we can do that simply by printing that value. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that. And here we have the total rows, 6, total columns, 4. Let me just comment these lines out. Okay, so we have total rows and total columns. Okay, which match exactly what we have. We have 6 rows and 4 columns. Okay, pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Now, what if I want to print the value of the first column? So we can loop over the values of that column, right? So let's try to do that. Let me just have print statement here. I will say value of first column. And here we will have a for loop. So we'll say for I in range 1 as first parameter, then row plus 1. All right, so I want range 1 and row plus 1. So adding row plus 1, row plus 1, row plus 1 until the loop finishes. Okay, next I will have cell obj, and in this case this is going to be equal to sheet underscore obj dot cell method, and the cell method takes two parameters, as we saw, a row and a column, and we want the initiation, so the iterator will be equal to that row, and the column is equal to 1. All right, and then we will print the value of that. So cell underscore obj dot value. All right, let's try that out. Let me just clear the terminal. All right, so value of first column, we have name, Mina, Ahmed, Dina, Nancy, and Joel, which exactly is in the first column. Great. Let's apply the same ideology and return the values of the second row, which will start from A2. Okay, so let's do that. Let's have the same print statement, but instead column we'll say row. All right. Now we will loop over the columns, right? So we'll say for I in range, again 1, in range like that, and here column plus 1. What I want to do, I want again to create a cell obj variable, and don't worry, this is just private for that for loop, so it's not public. It won't affect anything with the same name. Next, what I want to do is to take the same thing, sheet obj dot cell, and again I need a row and a column. So in this case, row will be equal to 2 because we want the second row, and column, if I can type that, column will be equal to the iterator. It's exactly the opposite what we did here. The row, which was the iterator, now I want to iterate over the columns, so I will set it to the iterator, the I. Okay, and then we will print cell underscore obj dot value, and then I will just put them on one line and I will separate them by a space like that. Okay, let's try that out. And there we go. Value of first row. Not first row, actually. This is first row? Yeah, it's the first row, correct. Mina, the employee number, $200 and $1,000. Okay, now we have seen how to read a single cell, multiple cells, or a range. Let's see how we can create and write to a spreadsheet. So I have a new folder and I'm going to create test.py file. And let's just not forget to activate the virtual environment. Okay, perfect. Let me just close the terminal. Now I want to import a class called workbook. So from OpenpyXL, I will import workbook, and the W in the workbook is capitalized. Okay, And if you will hover over workbook, nothing is not accessed. That's odd. Oh, okay, there you go. So this is the class. If you want to, you want to read more, you can just click it and read the details of that class. But really, we don't need to do that. We're going just to instantiate an object or instantiate a class by creating an object, right? So we'll call it workbook equal to workbook, the main class. And then I will use my object or this variable dot save method, and save is going, as you guessed it, save the Excel file or the outcome or that newly created file in the same folder where your Python file is. So the file name here, we will call it, let's call it test.xlsx. All right, let's actually run that. We need the one with the active environment, and say Python test.py. Have you noticed that? It has created test Excel file in the same folder. Okay, it's that easy. But what if we want to add data, right? We need to add some data in that Excel file. So I'm going to import OpenpyXL. Just I like to organize the code this way. All dependencies are above, and then the rest of the code comes below. Then I need my workbook object. So OpenpyXL dot workbook. Then I want to select that activated sheet, right? You remember when we did that before, wb.active. And then I want to write different values on different cells. So for that, I will create two different variables. Okay, let's say for instance x1. So x1 will be equal to sheet.cell, and I need row and column. So if I want it in cell A1, then I will choose the first row and the first column. And I want to define a value or write a value to that cell. So x1 dot value, and in the form of string we can say hello. And I can take both of them, and I will change just the variable name x1 to x2, and similarly for the value. And I want it to be in the same row but on the second column. And instead of hello, we'll say world, like that. Okay, let's go ahead and run that file. And we'll need actually to open it from outside. You can see here that nothing actually happened. We didn't write anything. And the reason for that is that we didn't save the file. So we actually have written stuff in our code, but we didn't save it. It's similar to what you do Control S in your Excel file to save what you have written. So let's do that here. wb.save, and we're going to save on the same file. We're going to overwrite that file. Anyway, it's empty. Now I've saved the Python file, and I'm going to run the program one more time. Let's open that file again. And there you go. We have hello world. Perfect. Let's close that. Let me show you another thing. So instead of doing instead of doing cell and using row and column, you can directly use or choose the name of the sheet that you want to enter, whatever you want to enter. So let's have x3 is equal to sheet. Let's choose A2. All right, let's choose A2 and B2. Sheet, and I want A2 like that. And the value of A2 will have the word happy, for example. Okay, and we can do the same thing. We can choose both. We can change the name of the variable, and we need B2 now, and we can say days, happy days. All right. It's always the save always should be at the bottom, so we'll save that. Okay, let's go ahead and open our Excel file again, and there you go. Instead of choosing row, column, and passing all of that, you just can choose the cell name, okay, A2, B2, whatever. And you will see that every time you try to write to a spreadsheet, the existing data gets overwritten and the file is saved as a new file. So if I will delete all of that and I will just put in A1 a number and I will save, when I will open it, I won't find all of that. I won't find only number in A1. And why is that? Because the workbook class always creates a new workbook file object. Okay, so to write to an existing workbook, you must open the file or load that file. And there is a method for that called load workbook. Okay, so let me actually show you. So here, if I want to add anything, let's say X5, okay, and X5 here will be in C2, for instance. And let's give that X5 a value of 150, a number, for example. After importing the OpenpyXL, let's directly import that file. I will say workbook or WB OpenpyXL dot method called load workbook, and that method will take that file that I want to open or to load. So what did I do? Not by XLSX. That's why the terminal yelled at me. It has yelled at me again because the file actually is opened, so it can't do anything. Let's run that again. It's good to see these errors just for you to know what's going on. So you can keep the Excel file open while adding and saving, and Python won't work freely, you know. So let's open the test Excel file and exactly what we needed to see. In C2 we have the value of 150. All right, so that's what load workbook does. It loads the file, it writes what you want to write, and then it saves it and just ready for you to open it and work with it. Of course, this is a very simple example, and this is very simple tutorial actually. This is a very beginner-friendly tutorial for anyone who knows a little bit of Python, a little bit of Excel, just to know the possibilities and how the two worlds can work together. Okay, let's also try to add some stuff. So let me actually create a tuple called data, and that data tuple will have two tuples. The first one, if I can type that, the first tuple will have the first tuple will have 1, 2, and 3, just simple integers. And the second tuple will have 4, 5, and 6. So I want to iterate over that data tuple. So I'll say for row in data. So I will say sheet.append, and I will pass the row inside here. Okay, let's save that. Let's clear the terminal. And as you can see here, A3 and A4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 respectively. All right, sweet. In the next and final part of the tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do some arithmetic operations on an Excel spreadsheet. What if we want to do some arithmetic, a very simple arithmetic operation, like sum of few numbers, for example? So let me create a file here. We'll call it sum.py. And we'll do the same steps again. Import OpenpyXL. Again, workbook is equal to OpenpyXL workbook. And I will need from OpenpyXL to, if I can type at all today, import workbook. Okay, good. And I want to select my sheet to be activated in the workbook. So sheet is equal to workbook.active, right? And now what if I want to write different values in different cells? Let's say from A1 to A5, different values, different numbers, and I want to add them or get the addition or the sum of these values. So let's do that very quickly. Sheet A1 equal to 100. And I did that 4 more times. So A2, 3, 4, and 5. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, and then in cell A7, I want the sum of that. So we'll say sheet A7 is going to be equal to the formula that you typically write it in Excel. Okay, so what you write equal to sum, and you select the cells that you want to add. So here, the same thing, but I will wrap this formula in single quotes, equal to sum capital, and I will say A1 from A1 to A5, and I will close the parentheses. Okay, and don't forget to save your work, wb or workbook.save, and we're actually going to write and create in the same time. Okay, so I'm going to call it sum.xlsx, save, and the moment that I will run that file, sum.py, I should see here sum.xlsx. There you go, created. Okay, so let's go ahead and open that, and there you go, the numbers and then the formula. You will see here, you'll find that we have actually written an Excel formula in Python code. So if you can do simple stuff like that in Excel, you can imagine that you can do much powerful stuff using OpenpyXL module. All right, so that's it for this tutorial, guys. I hope this was useful for you. If you want more advanced tutorial, please let me know in the comments section below, and I will see you in the next videos. Until then, stay safe and be well. Take it easy, guys.